Espionage, a very daunting word that many people have never heard before. Although it is not used in everyday conversation, it is still very important. Espionage was of top priority about 102 years ago when the United States first entered World War I in 1917. For those of you who don't know about World War I, it was an international war fought between 1914 and 1918. The main countries present during the war were Germany, Austria-Hungary, Turkey, the United States, France, Great Britain, Italy, and Japan. But before we jump into the rest, some of you might be wondering, what the heck is espionage? Well, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, it is defined as the discovery of a country's or business organization's secrets by using spies. During the war, the United States was worried that German spies would try to access information about our national defense. As a result, under the Woodrow Wilson administration, the Espionage Act of 1917 was passed. It made obtaining information, including pictures or copying descriptions relating to national defense, illegal. Many other actions also fell under the umbrella of this act. It gave postal officials the power to ban anti-war publications, and by 1918, 74 newspapers had been taken off the mailing list. Refusing to enlist in the military was also now illegal. Punishment included a $10,000 fine and/or 20 years in prison. This act caused the imprisonment of many Americans for simply using their rights, guaranteed by the Bill of Rights. This controversial act sparked two famous court cases, the first being Schenck versus United States. Charles Schenck was the Secretary General of the U.S. Socialist Party. The party opposed the draft and handed out flyers telling drafted men to refuse military service. He was arrested and put on trial. His counsel argued that the Espionage Act was unconstitutional and that his client was simply exercising his right to freedom of speech. The court reached the verdict that Schenck was guilty. He was charged with 3 counts and served 10 years for each. He then appealed the verdict, saying that the act violated the rights granted in the First Amendment. On March 3, 1919, the court ruled against Schenck and said that the act was fully allowed by Congress during wartime. The other famous case was Debs versus United States. Eugene Debs was a labor organizer and ran for president 5 times as a Socialist Party candidate between 1900 and 1920. In 1918, Debs gave a speech in Canton, Ohio, in opposition to the draft. He told the audience to interfere with military recruitment. He was charged with 10 counts of violating the Espionage and Sedition Acts. He also appealed his conviction on the basis that the act violated the First Amendment. Just like Schenck versus United States, the court ruled that the act was constitutional. Imagine if your First Amendment rights were taken away. Would you be happy? Well, if you said no, the majority of Americans in 1917 would have agreed with you. Luckily, the Espionage and Sedition Acts were repealed in 1921, after the government persecuted over 2,100 Americans under these acts. However, parts of the Espionage Act are still in effect today. Recently, it has been used to convict leakers. In 2013, the U.S. government charged Edward Snowden with 3 felonies, 2 falling under the Espionage Act. To wrap all of this up, the Espionage Act of 1917 was an act that was passed in efforts to protect our national defense. However, it denied the American people freedom of speech and freedom of the press.